Hello everybody, let's talk about photography. Specifically, I want to talk to you about long exposure photography. If you've ever taken a picture and had it come out looking like this, chances are you've probably accidentally taken a long exposure picture. So to understand what long exposure is, you first have to kind of understand how a camera works. The basic concept of how to take a picture really hasn't changed that much since we first started doing this thing. It's just sort of been updated to be faster and more efficient. With cameras, you have two basic parts. The sensor, which is what captures the light waves which create the image, and the shutter, which basically covers the sensor when it's not being used, and it's the thing that makes this noise. You have other things too, but for our purposes, this is all that really matters. Back in the old days, your sensor was basically just film in a dark box, and you just lift up the shutter to let the light in and capture the image, and then when you were done, you would close the shutter and it'd be done. This took a long time. In order to get a good picture of a person, they would have to stand still for 5 minutes. That's probably why nobody ever smiles in like super old photos, because nobody wants to hold a fake smile for that long. Nowadays, we can capture the same image under the same lighting conditions in fractions of a second. Point and shoot cameras, as well as the cameras on your phone, generally choose the shutter speed for you based on how well lit the subject is and your ISO, which we'll get to in a minute. If it's bright, your shutter speed will be very quick. If it's dark, it will be open for a long time and you will be more likely to see some motion blur in your picture. But some cameras, like DSLRs, have more manual options. This is where you get to choose how long your shutter is open for. The longer the shutter is open, the more light your sensor can capture. So ISO, what is it and how does it come into play? ISO at its core is basically just the sensitivity of your sensor. The higher your ISO, the more sensitive your sensor is. But it also makes your image grainier. So you're in a dark space, like a concert, and you want to take a picture of a fast-moving object, like Taylor Swift, or in my case, Davey Havok. You can shorten your shutter speed and heighten your ISO, so instead of getting a picture that looks like this, you can get a picture that looks like this. But say you want a less grainy image. You can turn your ISO down and turn that shutter speed up, and from there, you, my friend, can play with light. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, let me tell you, imaginary other half of this conversation. Sometimes long exposure can create a sense of life that you just cannot capture with a quick exposure. Like this picture. The glow of the lights and the reflection off the lake makes it almost look more like a painting than a picture. You can also capture movement that you wouldn't necessarily see otherwise. Take this picture here. Look at the stars. See how they're kind of elongated? I captured this picture over the course of 5 minutes, and that is how we have shifted in relation to the stars in the course of 5 minutes. Also, it makes pictures from the 4th of July so much more interesting to look at, because instead of looking like plain fireworks in the sky, it makes the fireworks look like night flowers blooming in the sky, and it's cool. Also, as I've said, I don't know how many times in this video, you can actually paint with light. Here, I wrote my name with sparklers. I will suggest, if you are wanting to make like actual drawings with light in the air, you will want to turn your ISO as low as you can get it. You want to put your camera on a tripod or something to keep it stationary, because you do not want it to move, and work in as dark of an environment as you can, especially if you're using a dull light like a glow stick or something. Also, the more plain your background, the sharper your image will be, because you won't be capturing those background elements, unless of course it is part of your light paint drawing thing. I am good at words. Personally, I like long exposure portrait photography. You can get some really interesting results. Here, I cloned myself, and aside from some light color correcting and adding my watermark, I didn't Photoshop this at all. I just used a flashlight in a dark room and focused the light on my face. I was in 3 different positions, and then I kind of waved the flashlight at the lens so it would kind of make those light bars. Or this picture where I spun around in a bunch of circles while holding a candle before holding it directly to my face. Or here where I created a ghost of myself with a flashlight in a graveyard. Again, the only Photoshop I used in any of these photos was to adjust the color and the contrast just to make it look cooler. I did not add any elements. So hopefully this video helped you learn a thing or two about lawn exposure photography. It's one of my favorite ways to play with photography, and hopefully this video inspired you to try it out too. If you want to see more of my photography, check out my Facebook page, the Shakespanderian, link in the doobly-doo below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye! Mwah. Okay, so I thought I would show you guys a little bit of my process. I'm in a hotel room, so I don't really have anything planned out, but we're gonna do something. So I turn my camera on, and I get this, and then I switch it from video to manual. You generally want a manual option because then you can adjust everything. I'm going to make my shutter speed super long. You see how it brightens up, so it will only go to 30 seconds. But then I'm going to also turn my ISO down. I'm gonna go about 160. I don't want to turn it all the way down because otherwise I will be doing this for a long time. And then I'm gonna put it in manual focus. I'm just gonna kind of pick a spot roughly where I'm going to be through all of this. So since I'm using my phone to record, I'm going to be using my tablet as a flashlight. So this is gonna go super smoothly. Like that. So bright. I'm gonna have that face down so I have some time to walk over here. And now we turn out the lights. It's dark. So I'm going to start the shutter now. And now I'm just gonna run the light around my face and a little bit around me. Now I'm gonna move and I'm gonna do the same thing again. And then I'm gonna kind of point the flashlight at the camera so it gets a little bit of light into it. And then as soon as I'm done, I'm just gonna put that down so that it's no longer visible and there's no more light that's coming in. So what you see right now is the final image. It was not photoshopped in any way, shape, or form. It is going straight onto the screen. But yeah, that's basically how I go about doing the whole lawn exposure shoots. Bye!